Christmas. I've watched 5 films this week, yeah, and finished off part 2 of Stranger Things season 4. So there's that. There's that. All except one of the films came out this year, so just expanding upon the 2025 film list that I'm going to talk about at the end of the year collectively. Yeah. And all of them are actually, all of them except for one of them are actually only 7 out of 10s, including the non-2025 film release. So there's that. That's pretty much that. So yeah, we got 5 films to talk about this week. Most of them are just alright, but they are entertaining. The last one is incredible. So let's get onto it. But first, let's finish off Stranger Things, shall we? All right. What did I think of Stranger Things season 4 overall? It's great. It's really great. And I'm so glad I watched it before season 5 has been released. I have not yet watched the first 4 episodes, but I am guaranteed that I will probably eventually maybe watch the rest of the show when I get around to it. I just been wanting to chill in my bed just reading. I just wanted to read. That's pretty much it. But yeah, I really like the conclusion that it all gave off, and I was really compelled by the twist reveal with Vecna. I mean, the show's been out for 3 years. I don't care if I'm gonna spoil this. The fact that Vecna is 4 characters into one was such a good reveal. It was such great writing, and it was so interesting the fact that all of it was paid off in an incredibly satisfying way that made sense, and it ties back into the rest of the show overall. The fact that Vecna is the overall mastermind of the entire thing, which makes the previous season's actions all the more daunting and terrifying. And especially with the reveal of him being one, which I thought that was the case, and I expected him to be Vecna, because he just had that sort of nature, even though I did see Robert Englund, but hey, it's Robert Englund. You're more or less expected it to be the crazy demon monster guy. And then I was fully expecting it to reveal for him to be for Vecna to be the guy who was manipulating 11, who himself was 1, and then it just revealed that he was the son of Victor Creel, and it just blew my mind. It was so incredible, and I was so invested in it. It really, really made me invested in it, and I'm glad to have finally finished the season, and I cannot wait to finally watch season 5. Now, my overall critiques. The Russian storyline is not that compelling, even though I was interested. I just felt like they could have finished the whole thing off in like 2 episodes, and the main conflict being the characters trying to get back to the US, whilst the Russians are just trying to keep them inside the US, as well as them trying to deal with the Demogorgon plot line. And whilst I love seeing the Demogorgon again, I felt like the whole thing could have just been condensed. The plotline I really did not find interesting was the California crew. I think Mike and Will just didn't have much to do in this one. And quite frankly, Jonathan, I was not interested in his plotline at all. I think he was very much underutilized, and I didn't really like the direction he took. And quite frankly, he just felt like he was a bit wasted here and there. And I definitely think that as time went on, my beliefs that Steve and Nancy should have stayed together is just doubling all the time, as Jonathan is just this junkie now who's hanging with his kind of annoying friend Argyle, even though he has some funny moments here and there. Yeah, this plotline, the California crew just didn't compel me that much. I think the only time it really compelled me was when Eleven and Mike was having their interesting dynamics, and Will with his pseudo coming out story. I did find that interesting. Eleven's story definitely was compelling, and I'm glad that they expanded upon or took a risk on expanding upon it ever since season 2 with the with the bullshit thing with the worst episode in the show. Obviously, everyone knows that it's the worst episode in the show, back in season 2. Yeah, and I think now I really like the conclusion of how it all ended with the California crew. Now, the Hawkins crew is obviously the best. The plot line is the best one. I think Eddie is such an compelling character, and I liked his fight. And I liked his arc. Even his death felt satisfying, even though I did want to see more of him. And the entire crew that was in Hawkins was just so satisfying. I legitimately thought Max was going to die in this. And she did die, only to be brought back. I felt like that was a bit cheap. Yeah. But still, I was very much invested with Max's story. And her relationship with Lucas and Dustin as well was just so compelling. I found Dustin to be probably the best utilized out of the original crew, or about out of the original crew. And what I mean is Mike, Will, Dustin, Lucas, and 11. I thought Dustin was the best character out of the 5, even if 11 is going to be tying with that out of the original 5 kids. And he just had so much going with him, so much agency, and just so much to do with this. And I'm really glad that they expanded upon him, not only with his friendships with Lucas, Max, and and the rest and all that, but his idolization of Eddie, idolization of friendship with Eddie, as well as his idolization and his respect towards Steve as well. And Steve as well is my favorite character in Stranger Things. His dynamic with the crew, especially Nancy, Eddie, and Dustin, and all that, as well as of course Robin. He had such a great story to tell, and I'm so glad that the Duffer Brothers kept his character intact. And yeah, it's just really great stuff to see. And again, I still wish Steve and Nancy stayed together, even though now collectively I just agree that Steve's too good for Nancy, let's be honest. Yeah. Robin, she had a really nice story, and her dynamic with Nancy was just so entertaining. And Nancy is probably the best character, is probably the best adult or older teenager character out of the bunch. She was really compelling to watch, and I really liked everything that they did with him. Yeah, overall, I was definitely satisfied with the way season 4 turned out, and I cannot wait for season 5. All right, now time for the films. First one, In Your Dreams. It's alright, I guess. I mean, it has Kristen Milioti, and she plays the average mum. I mean, come on, you're gonna include Kristen Milioti. You're not gonna make the mum hot. What a ripoff. Anyways, enough of that. Yeah, I thought it was alright. It has a decent story, a decent plot progression, decent characters, and just a decent message at all. I like the characters playing around with dreams and all that. It wasn't all that bad. I will say I think the stereotypical thing of making the good guy the bad guy, like the Sandman, the third act villain, it just came out of nowhere. And Night Mara, she wasn't really a character until just one scene at the end. The most interesting part of this was that there was a Five Nights at Freddy's Chuck E. Cheese jump scare in this. And even then, that was just only mildly scary, and that was like a small portion. Yeah, I thought the two kids had a nice dynamic with each other and learned to embrace each other and enjoy each other's company. Because after all, you're siblings, you gotta go enjoy each other. Though the younger brother got really annoying, and I didn't like him stuffing salami in his stuffed giraffe. I didn't really like that. That was just disgusting. He really needed to clean that. He really needed to clean that giraffe, as well as the giraffe becoming to life. He was really annoying, and he just felt like he was unnecessary in this. Though his third act redemption was sweet, I guess. Yeah, there's not really much going on to this. It's just fine, I guess. That's really it. It's fine. It's not anything interesting, but it's just fine. All right. Wicked for Good. It's really good. No, it's not really good. It's good. It's just good. I didn't find it as compelling as part one was. I think part one had a lot more going for it, a lot more interesting character dynamics and a lot more interesting moments, and I'd say better songs or more memorable songs, I guess. But really, it all just boils. But really, for good, it all just boils down to the way it just tries to cram in the Wizard of Oz. I think it should have been much more better utilized. Though this is a stage adaptation, so that's probably my criticisms with it. And quite frankly, yeah, for being a conclusion, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with the whole thing. I did find the characters as interesting, and the whole thing was just tragic, and yet it's earned, and it really made me invested with the tragic falling out of Elphaba and Glinda. I'll say the elements that did tie into the Wizard of Oz, I was interested, like the Cowardly Lion, how the Tin Man and the Scarecrow was formed, even though I felt like they were going to be much bigger plot points. I mean, the Cowardly Lion only had one major moment of voice lines, and he's voiced by Coleman Domingo, so there's something. But even then, I just felt like he was going to have a lot more to do in this, but really, he really just play, didn't do much in this. Yeah, and the Tin Man, I thought he was gonna have the revenge plot or something, but that goes nowhere. And the Scarecrow, well, I don't want to spoil this. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't watched it, but I really like the conclusion with the Scarecrow, and I was genuinely surprised about how that happened. But yeah, there's not really much going for it aside from just basic plot points and just stuff like that. Yeah, though I was mostly invested with the "As Long as You're Mine" song. I really like that, and I recognize that from a YouTube short, not a short, but a short video that is quite frankly the most surprising place I found out that song existed. I won't get into it, but it was very surprising. Yeah, overall, it's a good film, but I don't think it's better than part one. I think it's just all right. Well, I finally watched all three of the Marvel films that came out this year, and this is the most mid of the bunch. Yeah, Fantastic Four, First Steps. I still don't think they succeeded with doing an adaptation on Fantastic Four. This version is all right, and whilst it is the best made film, I guess I'd sooner rewatch the 2005 film, mainly because it had a it had a hot nurse scheme with Chris Evans, and an emotionally powerful moment in that film that tops anything in this film. But yeah, I did find the story interesting enough, and I'm glad that they actually did a comic accurate Galactus instead of the space cloud thing in Rise of the Silver Surfer. But really, this just could have been better, I guess. I mean, the best part of this film was Ben Grimm flirting with a Jewish school teacher, and that only had two scenes in that. So that's enough to say how low the bar of this film's quality is. Yes. Also, why is the baby CGI in this? They could have just gotten a real baby. What were you thinking, Feige? Anyways, I think the cast is fine. I think Joseph Quinn did the best portrayal of the four, followed by uh, Ibon Mos Baccarat. I think they had really good performances then, and Vanessa Kirby did a good job. Though I think I am tired of Pedro Pascal as well, but I thought he did a good job as well. Uh, the uh, the swapping out of Noran Rad with Shalabal for Silver Surfer, I don't really like that even. I don't really like that companies still doing it. Whilst it is accurate to the source material, it's just a much bigger problem here and there. Just see my Letterboxd review for more of my opinions. But yeah, I found it all alright. Yeah, I thought Galactus was a fine enough villain, and the main four was alright. Though I do think Mole Man should have been the main villain because that was Fantastic Four's first villain. That could have been interesting. But yeah, all in all, it's fine. It's not really anything interesting. Interesting, really. I think we just need to let the MCU go at this point. It's down in the gutters. That's why I'm not watching it on in the theaters. Right. The only non-2025 film, Zootropolis. Yes, I'm calling it Zootropolis. I'm from the UK. I don't care. Yeah. I'm getting prepared to watching Zootropolis 2, which we'll probably watch in the next week or so. I'm not really sure. But yeah, Zootropolis is a alright film. I think the main problem I have is the way the message is handled. I mean, I can only think about if the prey are the oppressed and the predators were the dominants, then if you're trying to acquaint race to that, then really the oppressed should be the minorities. So the prey should be the minorities and the predators should be the white people. It doesn't really work when you think about it that way. And quite frankly, it's just ingrained into me. I don't think the messaging works. And plus, you're acquainting race to animals, which doesn't really work. Unless it's a bunch of wolves or a bunch of dogs that are different races. Like, Chihuahuas are this race, Dalmatians are that race and all that. You get what I mean? Then that would make a lot more sense. But you're using real animals, all of them different species that cannot breed with each other, and you're acquainting that to race. That doesn't really work. You're acquainting prey with whites and predators with blacks or minorities. And even then, with Zootropolis 2, I think they're trying to acquaint reptiles with Asians, I guess, because Ke Kwan is Asian. How does that work? I mean, what about fish? There's fish in the film, I guess. Is fish, are we promoting cannibalism then? Again, the messaging just doesn't really work for me when you just think about it too much. And unfortunately, I thought about it way too much and it just doesn't really work for me as well. I don't think the messaging is well handled. And I really think it took a detriment to the overall thing. But aside from that, it's a good film. I really like the mystery angle, especially how it acquaints to the discrimination thing, I guess. And I thought Nick and Judy were really compelling and likable characters. I thought the whole story was interesting, and the environments are really well designed and creative. And yeah, it was just a good vibe all around. I used to hate it when I was a kid, simply because it was just playing in my house all the time, thanks to my younger sister. But I've grown out of that typical hatred phase. But yeah, it's just a fine enough film that just gets bogged down with some shoddy messaging here and there. Not really much to hate on, it's just a fine enough film. Alright, here's the only film that is not a 7 out of 10. Predator Badlands. Aside from The Running Man, this was my most anticipated film for this half of the year. Nothing else got me as excited as Predator Badlands. Dan Trachtenberg has not failed me yet. Prey is a really good film that I didn't like as much. I respect it a lot more, but I did enjoy it. I just don't like it as much. Killer of Killers is an incredible film. And Badlands is my new favorite of the Predator films. Sure, Predator, the original one, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's probably most likely the best made out of the bunch, and I'm not denying that. But Badlands, I just enjoyed that so much more, and I'm so glad to have watched it in theaters. I really like the concept of taking the Predator as the main lead. And I thought Deck was a really compelling character, and his relationship with Fear was just so well rounded and well fleshed out. The two had great chemistry, and I really liked the actor's portrayal with Elle Fanning and Demetrius. Give me a second. Demetrius Shuskta Kolio Mantangi as Fear and Deck. I think they really did a good job. I like how they were both abandoned by one of their family members or betrayed by one of the family members and forming a family together on their own. I think that was really compelling. Yeah. And I found the whole thing just so enjoyable. The best part, in my opinion, and that's not a detriment to the rest of the film, is the score. The score is incredible. And paired that with some incredible visuals, with the practical bits, with the CGI and all that, it just makes it so lived in and so incredible. Just so incredibly pleasing to watch. Sure, there are bits here and there that are a bit too dark, namely the opening, but that didn't really bother me in the end. I just found this so entertaining to watch, and quite frankly, my hats off to you, Dan Trachtenberg. You have my full respect and my full trust to make a great next entry in the Predator franchise. So yeah, if I had to recommend any of these films to go watch in theaters, go see this. It is so good. I'd rather you watch this than Wicked for Good, because this is much better in my opinion. Overall, I found my new favorite Predator film, and I cannot wait for Dan Trachtenberg to make AVP number 3. All right, ratings. Stranger Things season 4. I can confidently say a 9 out of 10. Yeah, and now In Your Dreams, Wicked for Good, The Fantastic Four, First Steps, and Zootropolis. I'm not saying Zootopia. All of them are 7 out of 10s. All of them are 7 out of 10s. And Predator Badlands, a 9 out of 10. So that's pretty much it. Now I'm still going to be doing this even if nobody's going to be watching this, because at the very least, I'm hoping someone's going to watch this and take my opinions as interesting enough to get another perspective on what I think on films. And that's what I'm here for, to be a third, fourth, fifth perspective, to give you something insightful. I'm not here to change your mind. I'm not here to give a this is this and this is that type of statement. I'm just here to give you a differing opinion on just films that I've watched, films that I've liked, and films that I don't like as well. I'm just here to give you my opinions on all films that I've watched so far. Yeah. And I'm enjoying this. It's getting me to, well, feel a lot more confident in talking in front of the camera, as well as just talking in general. I think if I did this live, it will definitely make me feel much more confident person, because I do think public speaking is a good thing that people should try at least once, because it will give you more confidence and more experience in just talking in front of a crowd and just talking about things in general. In case you ever need to do a presentation and all that, it's always good to do stuff like this to gain more confidence. And if you don't want to do stuff like this, I think it's best to try talking in front of your family to get practice and all that, because practice makes perfect and all that. So yeah, let me know what you thought of these films if you have watched them, and let me know down in the comments below what films you'd like for me to watch and review next, and I will consider watching them if I find the time, or if I am willing to pay to watch them, because half the streaming services you have to rent for them, which is annoying. Yeah, I mean, I rented Sinners, so that was worth it, but still I had to rent it. Yeah. Anyways, that's the end of today's video, everyone. Please, if you like, subscribe if you're new, and leave a comment of what you thought of these films and what you want me to see next. Anyways, that's the end of today's video, everyone. I want to say thank you very much for watching, if you have made it through the entire bit, and I will see you all later. Have a good one.